Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Double and Our Body Transformation podcast, or in case if you're watching this on YouTube, welcome to my YouTube channel. So, in today's video slash presentation, I'm going to be covering the topic of cheat meals, cheat days, whatever you want to cheat on. You want to cheat on your wife, your girlfriend, although I don't encourage that, and as much as I'd love to cover that on this in this video or this podcast, I'm not going to be covering that, but I'm going to be covering a heavy topic on cheat meals, cheat days, etc. It's like one of the first questions that I often get asked whenever I receive a coaching inquiry. They go like, when can I have a cheat day? When can I have a cheat meal? Or like once per week. So I'm going to be breaking it all down in this video today, in this podcast today, so stay tuned. But before we dive right in, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. It's going to really, really help me reach out and boost things on the algorithm, basically, because there's tons of free value in this. So it will be a massive help. Ignore the red light, and ignore the yellow glasses. I like to avoid as much blue light as possible whilst I'm working, and red light is beneficial for you because it's got like a long wavelength light, and that's a topic for another day basically. So I'm going to be looking in my presentation screen right here, and I'm going to be talking on the camera, and the screenshots are going to be attached on the top. So let's probably get started. So these are the topics that I'm going to be covering. Is there anything such as a cheat meal or cheat day? What is the context? Benefit, no benefit, psychological or physiological, combine it with training and know what sort of foods to add in, and refeed meals or cheat meals, maintenance weeks or cheat days, weeks, etc. Let's probably get started, okay? Is there anything such as a cheat meal or cheat day, basically? The answer is no. It's a concept popularized by bodybuilders. I think so in the 60s and 70s, basically. But what are you people exactly cheating on? You people, this is solely speaking from a general population context, basically. You people choose to hop on a diet and choose to control your calories during a fat loss phase, or increase your calories during a muscle building phase, and you all want to cheat on that. It's like a luxury in itself, choosing to reduce your calories, basically. So what are you cheating on? It's more of like you choose to get married and then you cheat on your wife. Like that's fucking stupid, right? But the answer is no. But basically it's a concept that's popularized by bodybuilders, basically, and it sort of applies to them, but technically it still doesn't apply to them as the science has evolved because as the science has evolved, as nutrition science has evolved, as fat loss science has evolved, basically, they ended up finding out that, let's probably say, for a bodybuilder, he was too fatigued with the diet. He ended up going and having like a bit of a cheat meal. He unintentionally increased his calories up to maintenance and had like a bit of a refeed and recharged himself psychologically, not physiologically. There's no physiological benefit to having cheat meal or even a refeed day, so that he could accumulate far more weeks worth of fat loss progression, basically. So they were unintentionally doing like maintenance or like refeed days, to general population clients, like the average Karen or Sheila or the Kevin or the Joe, whoever, like whichever stereotype that you want to think about, it doesn't really apply to them. Many of them think that they need to do protocols of training and nutrition of bodybuilders, basically, right? They don't have their shit together, right? And they straight up jump on the deep end. Let's probably say they see their favorite Instagram celebrity or their bodybuilder training 6 times per week, not having any carbs, doing 2 hours of cardio. They go like, wow, I want to go and do that. But that average gen population client who doesn't know shit about training, who doesn't know shit about nutrition, basically, when their heads so far stuck up their ass, basically, their habits are so pathetic, their sleep is not so great, their eating is not so great, that they can simply get away with the bare minimum habits. So it doesn't really apply to them. But do I use refeed days or cheat meals strategically with Gen Pop clients? Absolutely. And how I use them is something that I'm going to be covering in the next few slides. Most of the general population clients, they need to accumulate a decent amount of progress basically and habits for months on end before they need to do it, right? In some cases, if the person is coming to me from a place of like, how do I say this? Like if the person is coming to me from a place of not so great habits that's accumulated for a long period of time, yeah, I'll probably incorporate something like a bit more frequently, like once every something like 3 weeks, once every 4 weeks. But again, it's highly individual. In some cases, I might have been incorporate something like once every something like 2 weeks, once every 12 days, once every 10 days, once every 7 days. Basically, it really depends on where the person is, right? It comes down to the individual psychology. I can't stress the importance of that basically. So yeah, context. Is it a fat loss phase or muscle building phase? During muscle building phase, your calories are going to be slightly higher than what you need to maintain, as a result of which you're going to slightly feel hungry, or you might not feel hungry, but you're going to have some space for dessert. And in that particular case, you might not exactly need a cheat meal, right? But during a fat loss phase, as the weeks accumulate, as the body fat drops, as the calories get lower or the expenditure actually gets higher, the food noise, not like hunger, yes, that does begin to accumulate as well, but the food noise, like the cravings for food, etc., does begin to rise up basically. So we got to keep that in mind, which is something that I'm going to be covering in the next few slides. So you all want to understand the concept. There's no black and white answer. The black and white solution is relevant to the psychology of the person, relevant to the particular context that he's particularly going through, and what they can versus what they cannot do, and whether they're training, whether they're not training. All of these factors need to be considered basically. Is it an event or a wedding or an important occasion basically? Let's probably say the person is complying properly, but they've got like a bit of an anniversary night with their wife, right? It's pretty important, and they can't sit in front of their wife on the dinner table saying like, "Ooh, I'm on a diet," right? So y'all got to keep that into consideration as well. Is it a holiday, right? And what the person can do on a holiday, and which phase is he in, or she is in, or whatever gender you are in. So yeah, each phase has a different context, and each individual in that particular context is going to be very different, relevant to the phase he, she, or whatever gender you are in basically. Or the last one is it because they're too fatigued with the process? This makes the most relevance more than anything that I've described above. So I'm not going to be covering the lifestyle factors because I don't want to promote myself as a bit of a, holistic, all of that rubbish. Like, we're going to be speaking right now solely in the context of fat loss, because most of my audience wants to get lean, right? General population, people who've been tracking the calories and macros a little bit, or are aware about what is a calorie, are aware about like what is protein, what's carbs and fats, have some form of exercise experience under their belt. It's for them basically. So I'm going to be covering all of that. First of all, is there a benefit to having a refeed meal or refeed day or cheat meal or cheat day? The answer is no. Physiologically, there's no benefit, right? Psychologically, maybe not. From a psychological perspective, it's just a compliance tool, basically. Let's probably say you take a heroin addict, this is a horrible example, who has been off heroin for a long period of time, but finds the urge to relapse, okay, and cannot stop himself, and he's almost on the verge of relapsing. So what the doctors are going to do, they might probably give him a small little dose of morphine instead of him relapsing on a binge night out of heroin, basically. That's going to be like not good for him, right? So they might probably give him like a small dose of morphine so that he can let the noise that's accumulated at the back of his head for the drug die down, so that he can maintain his clean streak of that particular drug. right? It's not exactly clean streak per se, but whatever. I hope you get the point, right? It's a compliance tool. A maintenance week, yes, there's a physiological and there's a slight physiological and a psychological benefit, but not as much as you think. From a physiological perspective, let's say when you're in a diet, right? You simply stop taking a crap, or you reduce taking a crap. Depends on your food choice selection, but even when your food choice is actually good, right? Your body simply shuts down its digestion to a degree because it realizes, this person is actually trying to feed me less food by controlling my calories, by making me eat more whole foods. So I'm going to hold on to this particular I'm going to hold on to the calories that this particular person is feeding me. That's basically the mechanism explained in simpler terms. But that's the whole point, right? Your digestion might get better from physiological perspective. From a training perspective, there's research that shows that strength doesn't really drop during a deficit. During a fat loss phase, it doesn't really drop. The long-term strength gains and strength drops have not really been studied, but the short-term ones, strength doesn't drop during a deficit. And in fact, think about this. In a caloric deficit, you're eating healthy, you're doing your cardio, you're forcing yourself to sleep on time, because if you don't sleep on time and you're out there getting fucked up, right? You're screwed during a deficit. You're eating more whole foods. You are hydrating so that you actually know the difference between hunger and thirst. Is your strength actually going to drop during a fat loss phase, or is it actually going to go up? Common sense, it's going to go up, but not at the rate at which you'd like to think so, but it's going to go up because you're healthier. Your inflammation levels are going to be dropping because you are leaner. You're at a low body fat percentage, right? Perhaps a little bit of training performance might go up in some individuals because they're refilling their glycogen stores within their muscles, so the deeper you get inside a diet, the glycogen, which is like the stored carbohydrates within the muscle cells, tend to get depleted, and you're going to feel a bit flat. The pump in the gym is going to slightly reduce, as a result of which training performance might get affected, depending on the mindset of the person to a large degree as well. So having a maintenance week where you systematically increase your calories up to maintenance, and it's shown to have a bit of a benefit basically. But are you going to hit massive personal records in the gym? No, the answer is no. So psychologically, it depends on the individual, but yes, there's a benefit basically, as I've given the heroin addicts example. It's mainly around compliance, right? It's more of you're climbing the mountain, and then you get tired. Instead of going down, you just rest at the base camp. If you're a dude, the base camp has a few strippers, it's got a few cigars. You're gonna let the fatigue wear off, you're gonna chill out, right? It's not gonna do much, but it's gonna give you a bit of a temporary break off things, as a result of which you're gonna find yourself I can't wait to get back like that. I can't wait to get back. Psychological response is gonna help you get back in the process. And it's also going to help you accumulate more weeks worth of progress. So instead of going off the rails and losing your shit, I probably incorporate a refeed meal, a refeed day, or an informal refeed day in the form of a cheat meal. A cheat meal is just an informal way to systematically increase your calories up to maintenance for that particular day, and that's known as a refeed basically. So stress levels go down, you end up sleeping better, the digestion gets slightly better per se, and you recharge yourself psychologically to accumulate more weeks worth of progress. So then I would probably play that particular card. So it's mainly psychological for that particular person. That's the whole point. Next, let's probably get cracking with the next side. Do you combine a refeed day or a maintenance week or an informal refeed day in the form of a cheat meal? There's no such thing as a cheat day. I'm going to be covering why. With training or no, right? First of all, it depends on the person's psychology and training performance and where they are at in the process basically. So let's probably say if it's a tool to take the psychological edge off, because when you're dieting for weeks on end and you're training hard inside the gym and your calories are low, it just gets a bit repetitive and you go I don't feel like training. I mean, the love for this was there, but so in that particular case, I would, I would let the training wear off slightly. So this is my first line of action. I still would add in the slight increment of calories in the form of a refeed meal or a cheat meal. And I'll probably add it in post-workout, and I would tell them, I want you to still go to the gym. I still want you to go and train, but at 50% of the weight, at 50% of the reps, or 30% of the weight at 30% of the reps. I would somehow reduce their training volume, or if the person just hates the side of the gym, right? I don't know what sort of person might be that way. So in that particular case, I would just ask them to simply not train for 3 to 4 days rather than giving them the full week off, right? So, but still I would ask them to keep their activity levels up, because that's really, really important. Whereas if the person still loves training and is mainly fatigued with the diet, I would let training remain in, and I would probably keep the extra increment of calories through whatever means that I mentioned above, and which I will be covering further. Usually after they work out, because after you work out, you're quite insulin sensitive. And when you're insulin sensitive, and when you add in a huge influx of calories in the form of a formal or informal maintenance week, right, you end up shuttling most of those calories within the muscle cells, basically. So you actually minimize fat gain to a certain degree if you consume your calories basically after your workout. At the end of the day, it's calories in, calories out from fat loss perspective, but this avoids the chance of those extra calories that you do consume spilling over inside the fat cells, basically. So yeah, that's my take on things. What sort of foods to add in? Minimally processed, high protein, whole grain foods, high in fruits and vegetables. That's the best course of action. The aim is to stay satiated, basically. Satiated, I don't really know how to pronounce it. But if you're calorie tracking, keep it at the same foods and just simply scale the calories up, preferably from carbohydrates or from protein, whilst keeping your fats in check, because carbohydrates and more protein will simply keep you far more fuller. Again, this is not hard and fast rule, but this is my first line of action. If you're too fatigued to calorie track, to maintenance calories, then it makes more sense to have that informal yet cleanish cheat meal. Even though I don't like using the term cheat meal, but people can go overboard with this. So what is an example of an informal yet cleanish cheat meal? So a steak and some potatoes, or a shawarma, or some kubire, Iranian kebabs, basically, or some, yeah, you get the point. But I wouldn't ask the person to go and lose their shit on a pizza, donuts, pasta. Nobody just eats one donut. One donut is 550 calories, whereas one bowl of chicken and biryani, which is an Indian chicken and rice, which tastes delicious, can be something like 700 calories, and the 700 calories from the biryani is going to keep you fuller. Whereas you go and have that donut, it's going to make you want to lose your shit, basically. So yeah, this is my thought process, right? Next, refeed meals or cheat day or maintenance weeks. What is refeed basically? When you're in order for you to lose body fat, you want to be in a caloric deficit, right? Which is you simply eating lesser calories than what you need to maintain your body weight, as a result of which you're going to drop body fat. So refeed day is just simply you increasing your calories up to maintenance so that you can maintain your progress at that particular body weight, at that particular body fat percentage, at that particular activity level, basically, along with that level of training. That basically is it. It just incremented theoretical maintenance. So you still need to do the activity levels. Cheat meals, as I mentioned, only in the context when the person is too fatigued, but I'd use that as the last resort. Cheat day, strict no, simple as that. Don't do it, because it's informal and you'll find yourself eating whatever. So yeah, maintenance week, last one. This has a slight physiological benefit, mainly psychological. Usually 1 to 2 weeks, or if you've been dieting for weeks on end, right? I would probably keep it at something like 1/3 of the dieting phase. So let's probably say if you've been dieting for 10 weeks and you're extremely fatigued and time's not really a problem, you don't really have a deadline. That's, I think, so the best way to do it. Take 2 to 4 weeks of maintenance, right? Lesser the better. The quicker you can get back, the better it's going to be. So yeah, this is basically my thought process when it comes to cheat days, cheat meals, refeed meals, refeed days, maintenance weeks. That basically is it, you know. Now in a bodybuilding context, yeah, it does make a difference, because let's say when you're dieting, you can probably have like a low day where your calories are low, and most of those caloric reductions are going to be like from carbs, because you need protein to help you retain muscle, and you need fats to help you keep your hormonal production in check. But carbs give you energy, so that's like the first line of place where you reduce your calories from. Not because like switching over to a low carb diet is gonna help you burn more body fat like that. That's fucking stupid, right? Whereas on a high day, like on a training day, basically, right, intense training day, like a big back day, like a big muscle day, whatever your weak point is, or a leg day, right, it makes more sense to push your calories up to maintenance or slightly below maintenance. So let's probably say if you're eating something like, you're supposed to be on, let me just do the math, and let's say if you are eating something like 1500 calories basically, right, daily, that's like a linear way of doing like a caloric deficit, right? Whereas if you do, just do the math. Right, so let's probably say if you do something like 1300 calories for 5 days of the week, and like 2 days of the week you got like an intense heavy, like you got like 2 leg days basically, and like that drains the shit out of you, and that legs is like one of your weak points, and that's something that you want to bring up. From bodybuilding context, yeah, on your non-leg days you can probably be on 1300, and on those 2 leg days you can push your calories up to 2200. But from an average weekly caloric perspective, you are still like on like 1500 to 1550 calories. I mean, that's the purpose, and the caloric increments on those heavy leg days will come mainly from starchy carbohydrates, because they actually give you a lot of energy. So from a bodybuilding perspective, that basically is it. But from a general population perspective, gen pop client, I go like, first at least learn how to track your calories, at least learn how to track your meals, at least learn how to track your body weight, get used to the fluctuations, etc. So yeah, people, if you found this useful, right, please drop a nice little like, please drop a nice little comment, right, please be nice to me, right? My mom was never nice to me as a kid. Nah, just jokes. She is amazing, right? Show some love, right? And also click on the subscribe button. I'm just trying to get myself out there, right? Now, last but not the least, you know, these results that I produce, as you can probably see in the next few slides, these are some of the Gen Pop clients, and these are some of my physique transformation clients, right? It depends on how hard you can push. Whatever you want, I can help you achieve it. If you want to know how this is possible for you, all you need to do is fill in the application form below. Also, feel free to follow me on Instagram to know more, and that basically is it. Found this useful? Have a nice one. And this is anyways going to be uploaded on Saturday or Sunday. It's the weekend, so please don't lose your mind over a goddamn cheat meal or cheat day now that I've educated you about the science. So yeah.